Hello, and welcome to another one of our sponsored podcast and video series. My name is Phil Harvey, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Light Reading. And this time we've got a really interesting one. So, as we always do, this time around, we're talking to Dave Ward. He is the CEO of PacketFabric. Dave, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Phil. I'm already moving over here, so I'm ready to start speaking too.
Fantastic. Yeah. I was going to say, you're one of those movers and shakers we're referring to. We've talked a number of times over the years in your various roles, and it's great to connect with you again. But this time it's under the umbrella of being at PacketFabric. And so I guess a great place to start this conversation would be to talk about why you joined PacketFabric to begin with.
So look, I've been obviously working, perhaps to many folks in the audience, in the telco market, but really building the equipment and helping telcos build their networks for a couple of decades now. And I have a strong personal belief that the traditional telco networking sector needed serious positive disruption, both on the technology and on the business side. So going back into the software-defined networking movement that we've all talked about, for a decade plus now, I thought it was great that the SDN world was working in data centers under single administration, but I want a fully programmable internet. I want a fully programmable fabric, real-time on-demand of where connectivity should go. And traditional telcos really got stuck. They're stuck with their software model. And so I decided after many, many years at Cisco and a stint at Juniper to put my money where my mouth was and go and build it at PacketFabric. And the focus we have is really on the enterprises moving forward. And moving forward, towards technology disruption or other marketing terms that we hear. But what that means, and as most of us know, enterprises have fully moved their IT stack into the cloud. They're using storage solutions, SaaS, UC, security. But the traditional telcos and traditional telco features, MPLS VPNs or whatever the case, those telcos and those features were not built into the cloud. 100%. What was missing was the notion of a cloud core in the internet architecture. And that's really where PacketFabric is trying to fit, trying to play, building a real-time on-demand service, built cloud native, and built with a cloud-like consumption model, just not being delivered by any traditional telco or other network as a service players.
Now, in the network as a service space, what is the overall benefit to an enterprise? If they're hearing this, what's the overall benefit to them to be working with a provider that can deliver, like you say, a network as a service as like a cloud-like experience? What's the difference they're going to see?
So a couple of things, and I'll just start off really high level and simple. Click, order, manage, bill, real-time on-demand connectivity wherever you want to go. Okay. And that is the mantra of what we have. Now, in reality, I'm going to take one step down, which is, look, if it was all DIY, which is the traditional enterprise way of building out their wide area network, they've got to own, manage, operate all of the equipment and all of the links of where they want to go. That has become really, really challenging, not only because of the technology pieces, but the number of suppliers that have to manage, as well as the talent you have to have. And the managed business service from traditional telco, this is a really interesting point, Phil. Traditional telcos have not built a routed infrastructure into the private data centers, into the hyperscalers, security storage, UC, SATs, et cetera, players. And so they can't even get their MPLS VPN customers or their traditional business services into this arena, leaving just a 16-lane superhighway of business that network as a service and PacketFabric is trying to occupy. So one further step forward, as enterprises have, many of them have very, very strict SLA, quality of service, latency requirement. That still requires a private network. And that's really what PacketFabric has built, which is a private, secure alternative to the internet that goes to the clouds and goes to these services that enterprises need to build their businesses on.
Okay, so they get all the benefits of, like you said, like a cloud-like service. They get the security, and they get the benefit of a private network, and all of that without having to, I guess, incur the expense and the operating challenges that working with a traditional telecom player would incur. Am I in the
100%.
ballpark there? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and look, they can still build their network architecture as they like to because it's across the fabric. So it's already lit, which is also fundamentally different than traditional telco business services. It's not a bespoke layout. And system integrators who also offer these type of solutions are building all of them bespoke. No, this is a cloud native platform that gives you all of your OAM via about all aspects of your network from layer one all the way up to layer 3+, and allows an enterprise to build that fabric. But with that real-time on-demand nature, what MPLS promised for many years, which is, oh, you need more bandwidth going to one place or another, you can contract and dilate that bandwidth. What's really interesting in having a reactive API-driven platform like this is that, in fact, it's a reality. To the point where we've moved our portfolio where something that traditional telcos absolutely cannot deliver, which is a notion of flexible WAN bandwidth. So an enterprise comes to us, say it takes 32 ports around our fabric, but they can't predict where their traffic is going. They can buy just an aggregate unit of bandwidth directly from PacketFabric. And we'll say, hey, wherever you want it to go, however fast you want to move it around, that's all great. Because not only is this an SDN provisioning OAM platform, we built from the ground up. We built our own billing system so we can actually account for where that traffic is going, sell on a volumetric basis, and really, again, have that positive business disruption as well.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I guess that answers the question about sort of what, how what PacketFabric is doing relates to, the telecom carriers as the telecom providers as we know them now, and things like MPLS and those attempts at private networks. For the businesses that you're selling to, why is it so important for them to be looking at PacketFabric as as a more flexible and agile provider in this space? Like what is the advantage that they get from that competitive differentiation?
Well, some immediate total cost of ownership reduction without a doubt. They're not owning, managing, and operating the network. Second, they're absolutely able to get that flexibility. And this is really what we see, overcoming that 6-week delay of traditional telcos to be able to deploy that connectivity. We have, it takes less than a minute to bring up any ports across our fabric. It takes seconds to bring up any virtual circuits, VLANs, tunnels, et cetera, across our network. This is totally fundamentally different order of magnitude than anything anybody's seen. And so what this means is now you can take a step towards bringing into your workflow management. You can take steps towards bringing it into your application management, as well as big data motion. And as the data gravity is changing within an enterprise, meaning are they going to a large storage cloud or are they needing to do a large analytics push, that actually can match what they're doing in their enterprise that isn't possible at all. In addition to the consumption model, which is pay as you use, that means they're only paying during that particular effort. If you don't need 100 gig, 400 gigs, 365 days a year, don't buy it that way. So that consumption model change, that operational change and ownership change, but in particular, because the outcome that enterprises are looking for is associated with those workflows, applications, jobs they need to get done in IT, the network now matches that. And that hasn't been seen in the industry before.
Yeah, that's an important point, I think, because like you say, the way networks are built and built for is one way, and then the consumption model is completely different. And I think the consumption model, especially as enterprises are dealing with more data, that consumption model has become even more, I guess, they like the flexibility a lot. They need to be able to change their mind a lot. They need to be able to react to what's happening in the market or what their customers are doing. It seems like you guys play pretty well into that, or you're a capable solution in that space. How would you say you're sort of changing the way that enterprises are consuming data, or maybe how they're dealing with the data that's coming into their businesses?
So first, the vast majority of the enterprise market is already in a hybrid architecture, something on-prem, something in a private data center, and they need to be able to move that data rapidly. But needless to say, that's kind of in the rearview mirror. They've also taken a step towards, let's say, hyperscalers. But in almost all cases, that silo lock of whether they're big hyperscalers or storage clouds or others isn't giving the enterprise the flexibility they want for that data movement and data gravity. So we've brought into our portfolio a specific data motion capability with an acquisition we made late last year, and also added to our cloud router, which has 100 gig, multi-100 gig capabilities in and out of different clouds. We've shown, you want to move 30 petabytes from one hyperscaler to another in a 100 gig link, you can do that in a month, rounding. And so now you can get predictability as well as really have a CIO find the cost efficiency of where is the best place to run my application? Where's the best cost basis I'm going to get for my storage, whether it's hot, warmer, or archival storage? And the choices, just as you said, the choices are there, and the network and network consumption and data motion can match the flexibility that's needed.
Do you think, this is kind of the last question, because this, I think, kind of brings it all together. Do you think you're going to be able to change the way that enterprises think of network infrastructure, or how they sort of purchase, consume, and consider their own network infrastructure?
Absolutely. Having worked at a supplier for a long time, what I found is that they can't deliver it as a service. Working with the telcos, they're not even close to getting out of to being able to provide as a service and this type of flexibility. And we've really seen that move away from MPLS VPNs, maybe with some DIA, to now needing to build a private WAN with the architecture they want. This notion of edge to anywhere, as we are also partnering with a sister portfolio company, Unitas Global, that can put a NID in building, and the PacketFabric platform can control that. Now you're going all the way in building and going to any private data center, cloud, or service that you want to. Really disrupts in such a positive way that enterprise business services have been delivered. I think it's causing huge buying decisions, and we're seeing that in our growth. So you'd expect me to be very bullish about the technology, given my position in PacketFabric now.
Sure.
But in fact, this is in fact the vision for the next change to the internet architecture that I want to drive through the industry.
Yeah, it's also great for us to hear this. I think the telco space benefits from challenges to the status quo, and every time something like this comes along where you're attempting to make the consumption model fit the people who are consuming it, I think that's a positive step in the right direction. And like I said, it'll probably put some positive pressure on the telcos themselves to be more cloud-like, and that's always good as well.
And to partner with PacketFabric, which
and
we
a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So it all comes together. Dave Ward, thanks so much for taking the time to kind of walk me through it, and for spending the time with us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks a ton, Phil. Appreciate it.